Hi guys, how's it going?
Let's go. Kellen, when you don't know exactly how mobile Jalen's going to be going into a game, how much does that change the game planning aspect?
Same game plan formula. Obviously, like any players on our team, if you have to make adjustments as weeks progress or games progress, you do. But very similar plan.
Kellen, we've talked a lot about the passing game, and you keep winning games, but 65 net yards, I assume, is not
Not ideal.
goal. So, how do you look at it when you come out of a game like that?
Yeah, I think you got to evaluate it in a big picture perspective, and obviously then we look through every little detail of it. And I think obviously, too many sacks on our end. I focus on how can I help that process and put ourselves in better situations. Some of the play calling in some of those situations, obviously, I'm gonna dig really deep into. And so, I thought we protected the football. We made some plays in some situational football when we needed to, and gave ourselves a chance to win.
What was last week like for you? It's not every week where you're prepping for a divisional playoff game and have 3 head coaching interviews. What was that like?
It's really the same process we normally take. Nothing changes on our preparation for a game. I missed a 4th grade basketball game on Friday night. That's about it. And so, other than that, it's the same process.
After Jalen's injury, there were 2 sacks where he took deep drops, and then the safety and the second down drop. I'm sorry, the second down sack on the last drive. Why were those the play calls there when he wasn't moving as well, clearly?
Yeah, those are 2 situational calls. Certainly, I dig really deep into whether if you're in that situation again, do you probably give yourself a better opportunity? Certainly, I lean that way. Just going back through it, everything, being backed up and playing that situation out, and then in the 4-minute offense, we had some success on some movements, and obviously they played that one really, really well.
Last time we played the Commanders, when Jalen went out, they obviously in that second half sold out on stopping Saquon. Why were they successful in your mind? And given his situation with his knee, how much are you worried that maybe they try to employ that same thing?
They did a really good job of really gap sound. I thought they did a really good job fitting the gaps. They did a really good job with their pressure plan, having enough different presentations. I thought they really changed up their variety and did a really excellent job. Obviously we felt like we were close on some. They were not able to hit, and they finished it off.
I'd like to follow up on the safety. When you're evaluating that, obviously there's a lot at play there. The protection, the defense that they played, the call, and Jalen's decision making. If you get as granular as you can, how do you assign, I'm not saying blame, but how do you evaluate that and say, okay, this is what should have happened ideally?
Yeah, that one's on me. That one's simply on me. Chasing a particular look that is more traditional in the open field, and we were backed up, and that's one that, hey, I'll call something different in that situation based off of just the way it played out.
So 100% on you.
Yeah.
You don't say, hey, you know what, he should have gone to Dallas there to get rid of the ball.
There's things within it, but obviously, my number one focus is to put the guys in the best position to be successful, and didn't feel like I did.
On Jalen's 44-yard touchdown early in the game, obviously it was a zone read with Saquon. I mean, does that kind of show just, if Jalen is a threat running, just how much defenses have to account for that? And, what makes them tougher, Jalen and Saquon tough together?
Certainly the combination of Saquon and Jalen backfield is really, really powerful. They do an excellent job of having the threat of both of them. I think Jalen does an excellent job of making decisions within those. Obviously, he has to make decisions a lot of times in those runs, whether to hand it or keep it. He does an excellent job, and I thought that was a really, really cool play. Great decision by him. The offensive line, Landon kind of pinned it. Jordan obviously led the way, and the receivers did a great job with their perimeter blocking.
Obviously, there are pass plays that you call where you're hoping for an explosive to come out of it. Are there run plays with Saquon where you're thinking this could get us an explosive?
Certainly, there's variables that may increase the odds. Sometimes there's some anticipated probably a little bit more dirty runs, and there's some runs that you're trying to chase something big. Obviously, most runs, if not almost all of them, you're certainly trying to block the first and second level, and then if it gets to the third level, usually that's where the big plays happen.
Kellen, how big has it been getting Dallas back, especially these last 2 games?
Dallas has done an incredible job in the run game. Certainly want to highlight how important he has been in the run game. Just he's done a great job in there. And then obviously he's made some plays in the passing game. And so, it seems like, we need a play, and he happens to be there.
A lot of times when you see top-tier cornerbacks, people tend to shy away. In that last matchup, you guys really attacked Marshawn Lattimore, especially deep. What did you make of that, and what was the decision process behind it?
He's obviously one of the best corners in this league. He does a really, really good job. Obviously, he'll be a challenge for us. Obviously, one game, some things happen. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen the same way, but obviously he's a guy that, playing against New Orleans over the years has obviously had huge impacts on games, and he does a really good job. So we're well aware of that.
Washington's defensive physicality, do you see it on film? Is it more than other teams?
They're really well coached. Obviously know Dan and Joe really well. They do an excellent job with that group. They play fast, they play physical, they play confident. That's the secret sauce. They do an excellent job, and you can tell they're all aligned and they're all in sync on defense. They're not going to give you any freebies. They're not going to give you easy things. They're going to make you earn it.
I've been around it a lot before this year. Anything about Devontae and AJ's willingness and ability to block surprising?
It's really a testament to the team players they are. They're blocking for each other, for the QB run game, for the running back run game. They just do an excellent job. It's big time.
You've been around a lot of good offensive lines in Dallas and now here. What does this group mean to you as a coordinator, just as the group as a whole?
Yeah, this group's incredible. Awesome people, first and foremost. They work really, really hard. They're aligned. They work well together, and obviously, I think they certainly bring the physical tone and mentality to our entire football team. They set the foundation. And, we lean on those guys certainly a lot.
Said it was going to be a similar process to making adjustments based on like Hurts' mobility and how he's feeling throughout the week, as it would be like any other injured player. What information are you taking into account? How much of that is like consulting with the player directly, the medical staff, when you're making those kinds of adjustments on it?
Yeah, that stuff's always going to lean on the medical and the player. Obviously, those guys go through their process, and it's just communicated from them to the coaching staff. And so, plenty of conversations as the week progresses. It's mid to late January. There's a lot of guys that are banged up. This doesn't have just to do with Jayden.
There's
plenty of guys that are going through stuff, and that's how these weeks are.
How do you feel like?
You guys have managed the blitz pretty well all season. Why were the Rams more successful than past weeks?
Really, really good rush. They're doing an excellent job. I thought some of their games and their movements, just as you get later into a progression where the DNs kind of loop back around and made some plays. Obviously, they're doing an excellent job with it. It was a challenge for us, and so credit to them.
You look at the passing yards, and it obviously doesn't look good. But how would you describe Jalen's game on Sunday?
I thought Jayden just played a really clean game as far as he protected the football. He ran it really, really well. We made some really good situational throws. Obviously, some stats can be perceived as not wow perspective. I thought he did a good job of giving us a chance to win that game and putting us in a really, really good position.
The first play of the game, you had success under center, a play action bootleg there, and then I think that was the last under center pass of the game. Was there a reason you went away from it thereafter?
I think we got a variety of things within the game plan, and sometimes tying the run game and the pass game together, and certainly we have different opportunities for those.
Good.
All right, thanks guys.
Vic? How's it going?
Vic, first 4 weeks, Nolan had no sacks, no tackles for loss, no quarterback hits. Bye week comes, and obviously since then, he's been a different guy. What have you seen differently from him? What clicked for him? Any sense of where it came from?
Like I've said with him, he's done a great job of working, and he's constantly improved. And the more you play, the more you practice. And he's getting more snaps now, too, because since BG went down. So gets more practice plays, gets more game plays. You get better. That's the only way you get better is to practice and play. And he was improving in those first 4 weeks, too. But like you've made note, it's, come to fruition here since.
When you have that rotation with 3 men, is that on the edge? Is that typical that you shorten the rotation, or is that just sort of a feeling out process?
Yeah, it's just where you're at. 3's fine. We basically have 2 out there every play. And there's anywhere from 60 to 70 plays in a game, and so that's anywhere from 120 to 140, and 3 guys can handle that.
Why'd you go with Rodgers over Ringo on that side when typically you've been Ringo?
No, Isaiah's been the first in,
Okay.
no matter what side.
Okay.
Sack at the end of the game when he fakes the stunt, is that something that is called or discussed on the sideline, or is that all him just feeling?
A little bit of everything, and during the week, we had run the stunt that he was faking in them the first game with some success. So I think it worked because of that, what happened in the first game we played them.
There's a chance Isaiah Rodgers has a bigger role this week. You obviously get to watch him practice all season. How do you feel like he's improved throughout the year behind the scenes without getting consistent snaps every week?
Well, he was a guy that all during OTAs and training camp was doing very well. And then he broke his hand and was out for a few weeks and was slow to recover from that, meaning when he came back, he wasn't playing at the same level he was prior. But now he's definitely back to where he was, and I have total confidence in him if he plays.
With Jayden, how have you seen him grow in maybe the mental side of the game or some of those finer details, like with that fake stunt and stuff like that?
He's growing. You know, you play as much as he plays, and he gets practice. He's growing. You know, he's a second-year player, getting a lot of playing time. He should improve.
I know you've only had 1 year with him, but with you and Clint, how have y'all approached, coaching Jaylen and creating opportunities for him inside? I know you don't put ceilings on players, but how often do you kind of coach and create schemes around him, knowing that he could, transcend some situations?
Not as often as you think, because once you do something, it affects everything else. But it's something that we look to build on.
How much freedom does he have when it comes to some of those moves and faking the stunt, that sort of thing?
Well, when you get an obvious pass, it goes up a little bit. In the either-or situations, not so much.
When you have a young quarterback,
when you have a player on that level who can potentially be what he could potentially be, do you have to kind of hold him down a little bit from a standpoint of not praising him too much so he doesn't get too big ahead too soon?
A little bit, but I don't worry about that because there's plenty to correct, too.
Jayden Daniels is obviously a young quarterback, and you saw him just last month, but he's played in his first postseason games. I mean, in that small amount of time, has he changed?
He's a young quarterback by birth certificate, not by the tape. The guy's playing extremely well. You could tell how much they think he's playing, so good by the volume of their offense and the things they trust him to do. And he's come through for them in a big way. And he's tough to handle.
You mentioned the volume. Is aside from the amount of plays that Cliff has and goes to, are there a lot of teams around the league that run a lot of what he does?
I'm sure there are. He has the added dimension of the gun-run game where he can have design runs for the quarterback or he can pull it and keep it. That adds another level to an offense, and he excels at that. And I assume he was doing it in college, and it just comes natural to him.
Is this the best you've ever seen a rookie play at that position?
Probably, yeah.
What's the teaching point from the fourth quarter of the last game?
We just got to finish. I think you do have to give them some credit. He made some great throws. They made some great catches. One like we left somebody wide open. They're good. I think you always have to give the other team some credit when you're executing, where you are supposed to be, and they're just out executing you and making plays. But our guys kept going. We had belief that we could come up with a stop, and we did.
Is he the type of guy, Daniel's the type of guy that you could tell, you have to more mush rush him in terms of the way that he runs, gun runs him, or you feel like you can still go ahead and pressure him more outright?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a fine line there. If you're mush rushing, then he stands forever, too. So we just have to do a good job of rushing, you know, when we're rushing 4 or 5, and make sure we don't give them lanes.
To get the production that you've gotten from young guys like Jalix Hunt, Morrow, Jomo, I mean, how valuable has that been for you, and how much have they improved, like, you know, throughout the course of the year?
Yeah, it's been very valuable, and they have improved. Mo's really done a nice job with the snaps that he's gotten over the last few months, and we have total confidence in him when we're in there. Nothing changes, and he's got some athleticism, and he seems to show up, and Jalix is getting better too.
When there's a team as aggressive and successful on fourth downs as they've been, does it affect your approach on third downs at all?
Sometimes, you know, depending upon what the third down is, you know, from a yardage standpoint.
You stuck with Oren in that game. Was that the plan going in?
You know, we had planned to possibly play Trot some, but, you know, Oren was doing okay. Things were going okay, so we stuck with it.
When you have a back like Eckler who can impact the passing game more than most, is that shift your philosophy a little bit at linebacker or not?
In what way?
Just from the coverage standpoint, the athletic, we talked about Oren and Trot, just whether someone has better coverage ability or not. Is that more a part of it when you have a back like Eckler?
Yeah, it could be, but, you know, basically, Trot and Oren are very similar, so it doesn't in this case.
Why do you think they're so efficient on fourth down?
Quarterback and the talent around him.
In Slay's case, you don't see corners at that age very often. What is it that allows him to be effective at age 34?
Well, he's like some good Italian Dago red wine. It gets better with age. And he's still in good shape, hadn't lost much of his movement, still really likes to play, and I think that's a big part of it.
Talking about the talent around Daniels, have you anybody standing out in terms of their growth over the season, where you can tell that they're...
Well, Ertz and McLaurin are, you know, two of the best at their positions. Brown has really come on for them of late. Their backs are good now that they got Eckler back. Robinson's a good back. You know, they're really well balanced in their skill positions, what they can and can't do.
You've also gotten better with age?
Me? I'll leave that up to you guys.
In the case of Zach Vaughn and Cooper DeJean, when you're able to bring them down to the front out of nickel, how does that allow you, I guess the versatility, how does that help you when you don't have to change personnel, when you have different fronts?
It helps, you know, for sure. When you don't have to sub to do different stuff, it helps.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.